I need to start out by asking, does anyone else in this room have a hangover? Thank you. Good. I was amazed. I had a great dinner conversation yesterday. There were 4 Poles at the table and two people from Dublin. This is such a dangerous combination. I can't begin to tell you. Anyway, there are 2 reasons I'm scared to be here. Number one, I come from a community that thinks they invented the internet. And at the same time, we're extremely insular. We're not really sharing this knowledge. We think, well, everybody should know what we do. We're very important. We invented the internet. There are people in my community, the user experience community, that think that marketing is evil. And you guys, you're saying, hey, shit, we're going to make some money here. And that is a very, very good thing. And I'm delighted to be here. I'm kind of wondering, whether you're going to tar and feather me. My business partner said, are you kidding? You can't show those slides. Are you kidding? So I decided I'd bring tar and feather with me, but the tar got confiscated at security because it was a cream or whatever. So you're going to have to figure out your own way to lynch me afterwards. I don't mean to sound preachy. I just want to share some of the things that we talk about in our community, and hopefully there'll be things that you'll also be able to use in yours. Okay? And if this would click, there. This handsome young lad is me, back in 1970. And I'm a great fan of classified advertising because if it hadn't been for classified advertising, I wouldn't have built my first business. And that was to restore player pianos. Now, I lived in a town outside of Chicago called Highland Park, which was up there. And every Tuesday, we used to get a free classified advertising paper called the Highland Park Flyer. And so in my last period at school, I'd read the flyer, and I'd start getting on the phone, and I would call people, and we would go out with a truck and buy old player pianos. These are these things with paper rolls, and right. And generally pay somewhere from $20 to $100. I hired a lot of my school friends. They got $1 an hour and free Coca-Cola to fix these things. Everybody could do one task and do it well. And by Friday, I knew, did we have a piano or did we not have a piano that we could sell? If we did, I put an ad in the classifieds in the Chicago Tribune. This is the way they looked. In the Chicago Tribune for the Sunday section, which was the premier classified advertising newspaper in the Midwest. And we'd sell them. And we could generally sell them for about $800. Now, with free Coca-Cola and all, my costs were $200, and I could sell it for $800. And if I could do this 2 or 3 times a month, that was a pretty good income for somebody who was 16 years old. Please keep in mind, in 1970, the mean average wage, annual wage in the United States, was under $10,000. So this was a pretty good business. So I like classifieds. But there are 2 lessons to be learned from this. Number one, you buy from media that provides easy overview and good information. And this is kind of what Joseph was telling us about. This is why this French company is doing so well. And the second thing is, we sell via media that provide the best exposure. And in my case, it happened to be the Chicago Tribune. I think it's important to keep these things in mind when we talk about usability and user experience, because ultimately, this is what makes everything tick. It's not about banner ads. It's not about all the other ways you can monetize whatever kind of a thing that you're putting together. But we'll get into that. So I have 3 questions for you real quick. Oh, by the way, user experience. See, that's what I do. The first 3 people I talked to last night said, well, so why are you here and what do you do? We couldn't figure that out by reading your... User experience is basically about choreographing the the touch points across a brand. Every time you come in contact with a company, with a brand, with a whatever, that's a touch point, okay? So user experience, online and offline, is a question of figuring out what can we do so that people have a good experience with whatever we're trying to sell. Okay, that makes sense? Because that's what I do. So 3 questions. Are you alone in your market? How many of you are? Oh man, you really are hungover. The truth is that nobody's alone in their market. So how are we going to differentiate ourselves? What are we going to do? And I think it's going to be quality of service. So secondly, are you encouraging your visitors to come back? I love him. That's also important because the truth is everything is governed by the law of diminishing returns. If you burn people one time, they're not going to come back. So it's not good enough to say, right, we're going to have this semi-link farm and expect that that's going to be a viable business model. Not in length. And the business model. Is your business model getting in the way of whatever kind of experience you're trying to give your... I love this one. Your business model's success depends 100% on whether people feel that you're fulfilling their needs. If they want to buy a car, you better help them buy a car. Right. So, there are 3 things I'd like to share with you today. One is defining innovation, and I realize that you have the Innovation Awards tomorrow night, and you've got a whole session on innovation. And I don't mean to step on anybody's toes. I want to talk a little bit about service, and then finally I want to talk about shared reference building. So, to kick it off, this is the Webster's definition of innovation, and it sucks. It's a really bad definition. But this is often what people think of. They say, oh, well, it's the introduction of something new. New is always the key word. And then the other side of that coin is, of course, best practice, which was coined by Tom Peters back in the 1980s. Now, there are an awful lot of bad reasons to innovate. You can do it to satisfy your ego or just because you want to be different. There are a lot of people who say, well, we're going to innovate. I come from Copenhagen. There is not a Danish company that doesn't have innovation as one of their value words. Oh, good Lord. This is the Octo Auto. This is a completely legitimate car from about 1912 in the United States. Now, the idea was, well, it's going to be very, very smooth because it looks like the double bogies on a Pullman train. So that's really cool. So that makes the Octo Auto like a really smooth ride. And they also had these ideas that it was also going to increase your fuel economy and all kinds of brand promises that didn't really hold true. Now, the thing you have to keep in mind is, what did roads look like in 1912? Trains run on tracks. Cars... I'll tell you, the only thing I can say for certain about the Octo Auto is it probably took twice as long to dig it out of the mud. So that's just being different for the sake of being different. This is a really bad reason. There is a life cycle in innovation, and it starts with experimentation. This is Marconi, who throughout the 1890s was working on radio telegraphy. In 1909, he actually won the Nobel Prize for inventing radio telegraphy, and it should have gone to Nikola Tesla. So any of you guys here from Hungary or the Balkans, Tesla, he was the one who was supposed to get it. The innovation, though, came here. Does anyone recognize this picture? No guesses whatsoever? All right, I'll give you a hint. I'll put a date on this. Excuse me? It's the first of something. No? All right, I'll add a picture. Does this help? The Titanic, exactly. The Titanic was the first ship to actually send an SOS via the Marconi invention. That's the innovation. And as a result, they saved 802 lives that April night, people who probably would have drowned in the mid-Atlantic. There is only one reason to innovate, and that is to solve a problem. And I assure you, if you're not solving a problem, you are going to create one. That is absolutely the first rule of innovation. And problems don't exist in isolation. There are always consequences of what you do. There will be political, there will be cultural, and there will be technological consequences. And you need to keep these things in mind when you talk about innovation. The classic story is the one of the British Army back in the 1850s, who went to the Lee Enfield people and said, we need a breech-loading musket. Now, see, the thing is that, I don't know how much you know about firearms, but muskets, big, long rifles. In the old days, the deal was that you held it up, and then you poured in some powder, and then you tamped that down. You have this long rod, and then you put in a mini ball, and you put that in, and you tamp that down, and then you put in some cotton and tamp that down so it didn't roll out when you lifted it up to fire. Okay? And then you cocked the flint, and... Now, let me ask you, why would you ever want to fire a second shot on the field of battle? Right. And what does that mean, Felix? Well, but it probably also means that somebody's shooting at you. And so the last thing you want to do is stand up in the middle of the battlefield and go through all this malarkey. So the British Army said, well, now, Lee Enfield people, you know all about weapons. So we want a breech-loading musket, something that you can load down here. So the Lee Enfield people thought about this, and they said, great. They came up with these little greased packets of powder, all pre-measured. So you put it in your mouth, tore it off, poured it in, put it in the ball, and fired. Brilliant idea. They solved a problem. They solved the technological problem. But remember, I said that there were political and there were cultural issues too. Now, who were the British fighting alongside and against in the 1850s?
The Indian Army.
Exactly. Let's talk about religion here. We're talking about Hindus and Muslims. What is the one thing that you do not want anywhere near your mouth?
Beef.
How do you think the Lee Enfield people greased their packets?
Beef tallow.
Exactly. The point is, the Brits almost lost the jewel in their crown 100 years before Gandhi came along. There were revolts all along the front. So, remember, 3 different sides to innovation. So be very, very careful when somebody says, hey, we're going to do something new, we're going to do something different, we're going to satisfy our ego. This is a very dangerous way to think. So when you talk about innovation, please make sure that you're solving a problem. This is from the island of La Palma in the lower Canary Islands, and they have more weird wheelchair ramps than any place I know. All over town, there are wheelchair ramps. It's an interesting picture because it shows the 3 things that we need to talk about. Number 1, we have people. We have people who are going to look at our ads. We have people who are going to read our newspapers. We have processes that we want to help them through. And we have various enabling technologies. But we've got to make this all work together. These things don't exist in isolation. They have to work together. Invention can be accidental, but innovation is never. It is always a planned activity. there's a life cycle, I think, and it starts with invention, then you have a period of innovation, and that leads to best practice. Best practice is not the opposite of innovation. I think it's the natural result. And the thing is that you want to build the next level of innovation on top of whatever kind of best practice you have now. What we're doing in terms of web design and usability is radically different than what we were doing 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we were really making this up as we were going along. Nobody had tried this before. We didn't know. Today we know a red button gets a 21% higher click-through rate than a green button. We don't have to discuss this. We have the case stories, we have the research, we know how this stuff works. So we're not making as many stupid errors as we used to. You have to be very careful, though, that it doesn't just become habit. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You want to build that next level. That's how we develop. Now, there's a tricky part to this, and that is that there's fashion. We do things because that's the way it's done in our industry. But that's a very dangerous thing because it rapidly becomes old-fashioned. I want to show you some Danish sites. It doesn't matter that you can't read them, but this is kind of the design du jour in the web business. You have some links at the top, a big useless picture, and a couple of things you can click on underneath. This is not necessarily good design. It's just the fashion. Links, big useless pictures, some things you can click on underneath. Links, big useless pictures, some things you can click on underneath. Links, big useless picture. This is the royal family of Denmark, and this is the only site I can think of that actually justifies having a picture. They have an older demographic. They're people who are interested in the royal family in Denmark, don't spend a lot of time on the internet. So, ooh, look, it's our queen. I came to the right page. That's good. And the truth is, if you like this shit, you can download it for like $59 a pop with Flash from Dotster in the United States. But online concept is not what it looks like, but it's what it can do. And this is how you're going to be able to differentiate your products. Classified sites have a tendency to look alike. Would you agree on that? Okay. That's not bad, because there are ways you can differentiate. So what are the warning signs? Well, first of all, if you're only using, or you only see your solution being used in one vertical market, that's dangerous. Or a single branch or industry, or it looks like what you were doing last week. That's kind of the tip that things are maybe not as they should be. So, enough about innovation. Let's talk about service. And again, let's start with a definition. This is from a rather mediocre book by Turbin and King from 2002. The customer service is a series of activities designed to enhance the level of customer satisfaction. Oh, isn't that nice? I don't know her. But she's online, so that's really good. The feeling that a product or service has met expectations. And this is really where it goes along. Let's examine that met expectations for a moment. I mean, it's implying that, on the one hand, go away, that it did not meet or it exceeded expectations. But we've got this line, right? Smack dab down the middle, met? Is that really going to move market share? Ooh, I don't think so. Let's put some numbers on this. If we chart loyalty versus satisfaction, we'll find that people can be pretty damn satisfied with your product, but they won't necessarily stick with it. As a matter of fact, up until about 90%, people are not necessarily more loyal. That's scary. In fact, it's only after 90% that it really starts to go up, and this is called hockey stick satisfaction. Why? Letitia, you're Canadian, you know this? Because it looks like a hockey stick. It's not actually quite as linear as I drew it, but it's very, very true. And so when you meet jackasses like him and say, well, we have an 83% customer satisfaction rating, you know that this is a company in trouble. It's very, very easy to talk yourself into we're providing better customer service than you are in reality. So you need to be very careful. And is it relevant? God, yes, because everybody's just a click away. So let's start with some basics. This is our industry in a nutshell. There are people who have money, and there are people who have products. And we want to bring them together. Can we agree on this? You're being very quiet. Yes, good. What stands in the way, though, is forms design. This is just very basic stuff. If people can't complete your form, they can't give you money. Now, until about a month ago, I used to teach at a business school. And you have to dumb things down for business school students. So basically, here's Bugs Bunny, okay? And here we have the carrot patch. What comes in the middle? What? Elmer Fudd, exactly, Elmer Fudd. Okay, so basically, forms are the Elmer Fudds of cyberspace. If you don't get your forms right, it doesn't matter what else you do. It doesn't matter how many page impressions you have. It doesn't matter how beautiful your site is. If you're not selling things, if you can't enable this activity, you're in trouble. This is a form I tried to fill out just a couple of weeks ago. Last name Reiss, that's me. Stanner of Femten, that's where I live. Copenhagen, which interestingly enough was pre-populated in this form. I don't know how it figured that out, but it did. And then it says, well, the state, region, province. Very North American behavior. Well, I couldn't do anything about that. Zip code, not a valid zip code. Yes, it is. This is my zip code. Don't you tell me it's not a valid zip code. Phone number. Oh, for crying out loud. So I try to tweak this 6 ways to Sunday. So I end up putting Florida and my mother's old zip code address, and then it bitched that it didn't like the Danish telephone number. But finally, I got past this form. I'm trying to give an organization a charitable donation. They don't want my money? And after all of this, what do I get? Well, I'm sorry, the address you provided does not match the billing address of your credit card. Fuck. There is no such thing as online conversion without a form that works. It's as simple as that. The business model. Let me show you. Now, there's a telephone that just came out in Japan. It's really cool, and it's made out of wood. And I don't speak Japanese, and because the site was in Flash, Google Translate wouldn't translate it. But I did have the name, and so I searched for this on Google, and, well, that sounded good. A smartphone, blah, blah, blah. And I click on that, and I get one of these junk pages that populates the internet. But there were 3 places where it did, in fact, tell me, well, you could buy it, fine, touchboard, blah, 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 for sale. So I figure, all right, I'll give it a try. I'll click on one of these. And what do I get? What are you looking for? It knew what I was looking for just a moment ago. How come it doesn't know what I'm looking for now? Is this a new search engine? What kind of nonsense is this? And then, you end up at the Monster Marketplace. Anybody here from Monster Marketplace? Really? You have a serious problem. But I'll tell you one thing. You've got a lot of guts to put your hand up, so thank you for that. The business model is showing through. I couldn't find my phone, and half of this is in Danish, half of this is in. I can buy a panel PC, or this is for the local QXL, which is the local auction site in Denmark. None of these links do anything for me. And by the way, I decided I'd spend some time on Monster. I said, well, maybe it's just the search engine that sucks. So there are about 5,000 euros worth of stuff that we need at our office in Copenhagen right now. So I figured, well, I'll start searching. I was unable to buy anything from the Monster Marketplace. Too bad. See, nobody really cares that you're in the business to make money. That's okay. That's cool. We don't necessarily think of profit as the dirty word it was maybe 30 years ago. But as soon as your goals get in the way of my goals, then there's a problem. And you've got to start thinking about service. This is from Den Blå Avis, the blue newspaper, which is a freebie in Denmark that was bought by eBay. Now, if we look at this page, I was looking for a Fiat 500. Cute cars. A Cinquecento. And so here are the search results. But look at this page. All of this is completely irrelevant. And what are they actually doing? They're talking about, they're trying to sell me broadband connections and another mobile phone. It has nothing to do with the car. It does nothing to help me understand things. It's making me scroll on the screen when I don't really want to scroll. I just want some results. This is not a good way to operate. Unhappy customers can be very, very dangerous. In the old days, we used to say, well, if you were happy, you'd tell on average 3 people. However, if you were unhappy, you would tell 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Told on average about 17 customers, or 17 friends, relations. That was the old days. What's happening today? Who are we telling? So you don't want to be in this situation. And you have to be very, very careful about pissing people off, because you might get your slides in my deck. Paco Underhill. How many of you know who Paco Underhill is? Paco Underhill wrote a book called Call of the Mall and Why People Buy. He's a scary character. He sort of follows people around while they're buying things in shops. And interesting, women touch 3 things before they actually buy one. And he's got all this stuff figured out. It's really interesting. But Paco has some rules. I have some rules. I've also followed people around in stores. Don't tell me how great you are. Be great. Go the extra mile. Don't get in my way when I'm trying to shop. If I know what I'm looking for, help me find it. If I have questions, I want straight talk. If you're going to go off and look for my size, don't just leave. If you expect me to buy something, you've got to tell me what it costs. And we all know that. Are your own affairs so important that you feel justified in ignoring me? I hate that. Don't make me feel stupid, and if you make a mistake, admit it. Now you're saying to yourselves probably, well, why is he jabbering about this? We're not running a store. We're running websites. We're running classified advertising, for God's sakes. What is the relationship? Okay, Eric, tell them what the relationship is. This is a bottle of wine. I got it as a gift because I had held a talk at UCLA. And see, you can add a free gift message, which UCLA had done. And this is actually how it came. There were all kinds of stickers for wine.com, and up here there was this thing that I could peel off and fold and put next to my bottle and say, oh, isn't that nice? A gift card. Already here, the customer experience is not going in the right direction. And yet, they had the audacity to send me this damned letter. We hope you've enjoyed your experience with wine.com. I said, no, I do not have an experience with wine.com. I have an experience with some people in Los Angeles who were kind enough to send me a bottle of wine. Bugger off. All right, my wine book doesn't say anything about Mount Veeder, so I figured, well, what the hell? I'll go to the wine site and I'll see what happens. And this is the way you would think the front page looks. But no. What state will you be shipping to? I'm really good at getting around this kind of crap, but I couldn't do it. So, like I said, My mom used to live in Florida, so I type in Florida, and she says, well, yeah, we deliver to most locations, but what's your zip code? So they got a zip code. That wasn't enough. Well, because wine availability and pricing may vary from state to state due to the way interstate commerce laws influence our buying patterns. I don't give a flying fuck what your buying patterns are. I'm not concerned with your logistics. We have found that the select state layover screen, while a little intrusive? What are they thinking, these people? I've been on the site 10 minutes. I hate them already. I never want to have anything to do with wine.com. Good Lord, I haven't even seen the... All right, so I get to the home page. Don't get in my way where I'm trying to shop, and are your own affairs so important that you feel justified in ignoring me? You see where this is going? All right, so we're on the front page here. Ranked the #1 online wine store by Internet Retailer Magazine, 2005, 6, and 7. It's actually the only online wine store ranked by Internet Retailer Magazine. So by default, they're in the #1 position. I'm sorry, don't tell me how great you are, be great. And right now, wine.com is not doing real well. So, gift center. Bottles that are great to give. That sounds reasonable. So we click on this, and oh my God. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. Look at this. I mean, we've got an overpriced Chateauneuf de Pape. We've got just all kinds of stuff. There's no rhyme or reason in these results. Bottles that are great to give. Why are they great to give? I don't know. Listen, if I know what I'm looking for, help me find it. Went to the search engine. I actually could find my Mount Vita on the search engine, but I looked for something else called Bareboat. Which is a Pinot Noir from Oregon. Really good. Sorry, we don't have any batches. Please double check your spelling and shipping state. Oh, come on, guys. Like, you think I don't know what the shipping state is? Don't make me feel stupid. Right, so we get to the page here, and it's apparently WE and WS. Apparently it's got an IQ, who knows. We've got links over here that are really odd. This one is just sort of to search results, but we have the same link down there that actually leads to a page, again, with a lot of scrolling before you actually get down to what you need. If we move this aside, we have print seller notes here. How many of you are wine aficionados? Nobody? All right, so how many of you are vodka aficionados? Let's see some hands. That's good, Stefan. Good. Right, so print seller notes. Why would you want to print seller notes? Excuse me? Right, because you're going to lay down the bottle for a while, and you're going to want to know later on, well, when am I supposed to drink it? What's it good with? Right? Okay. This is what we get. Now we know that wine enthusiasts, so it's not an IQ rating, it's something else. Customers who bought this also bought a really shit California champagne, and this is collaborative filtration. This has no business on what I'm trying to print out. I'm going to print something out, I'm going to put it with the bottle, and then in a year's time, I'm going to click on the piece of paper. Stage was not quite as deep as I thought it was. Oh man, that vodka, it'll do it to you every time. Yeah, well, Reiss came and he fell off the stage, for God's sakes. Right, if we look at this, it's actually down here that we get the information that's important. I mean, they can't even put this on one piece of paper when I print it out. I'm sorry. Oh, and they can't even get the price right. Suddenly it's $36 here, but it's $43 there. Yow. And it turns out you can buy it cheaper everybody else. If you want me to buy something, you got to tell me what it costs. So I figure, well, what the hell? I better figure out what the shipping costs are. That's why people abandon shopping carts online, because they don't know what things are going to cost. Now let's just roll this story back. They have my shipping state. They've got a zip code. I mean, they know within 2 kilometers where I live. Why can't they tell me what the shipping costs are? Okay, so now I have to register, and I have to tell them that I'm actually 21 years old because it's the United States, and they're all hysterical, and oh, I need to add a MasterCard and a shipping address. I mean, I'm really into hardcore checkout at this point, and I just want to know what it's going to cost to send it. I can write a gift message to myself because I know how elegant that is. And then finally, I get here, and it turns out the standard shipping is going to be $9.95. Estimated arrival, 7 business days. What is 7 business days? It's like a week and a half? A week is 7 days. 7 business days? They must think I'm really dumb because for an extra $10, I can get priority. Estimated arrival, 7 business days. Or express for $15, 6 business days. So I figure, well, okay, I know that I don't want to have anything to do with these people. So I click cancel order, and I get a 404 page not found error. True story. I did not Photoshop these things. Look, people are people online or offline. So the stuff that Paco Underhill and I did in terms of research also applies to the way that we behave when we go into an online community. So the next time you get bad service someplace, then go back to your site and think, gosh, are we doing the same thing in whatever we're designing? There are only 3 types of service: help, enhance, and fix. And just to give you a mnemonic so you can remember this, help is, it's the beam me up, Scotty. It's basically, I need to do something, I need to understand something, and just, keep me away from the horrible browser monster. There are a lot of people that are scared that they're going to break the system somehow. Now, there are things that they won't tell you, and that is, look, make me feel good, soothe my ego, just make the problem go away. All right? Help me. Enhance. And this is really important in the classified industry. It's all the contextual navigation. Links, a happy surprise, an unexpected benefit. That's enhancing the experience. And then fixing. It's just, I don't really care how you do it, but just make it work. So those are basically the 3 kinds of services. But enhance is incredibly important. That's really where you can differentiate your product. Which brings us to shared references. What are you looking for in a shoe? I have 2 sites here. This is for Land's End, which sells, hiking boots and this kind of thing. This is a nice hiking boot. Costs, what, $125. They have a rival site, or there is a rival site for LL Bean, also a North American company that sells this kind of thing. Almost the same shoe, again, about $125. Now, so which of these sites do you think works better? Land's End? How many of you say Land's End? Okay. And how many of you say LL Bean? And the rest of you are all undecided. What's the first thing that you would look for if you were going to buy a hiking boot? What? The sole, exactly. What's the difference between these 2 sites? They flip the shoe. LL Bean outsells Land's End by a factor of 50. And there's nothing new about this because, for God's sake, Sears Roebuck was doing this 100 years ago. It's the shared reference. We're all on the same page. We know what we're talking about. If I say, I am holding in my hand a standard 60-watt light bulb, okay, with a screw-in base, an E27 if you're technical, for the Edison 27-millimeter base. All right, so you know what I've got in my hand, yes? No. Say something. Yep. Good. All right, fine. What color is it? Is it? Nope. Is it a daylight bulb? Is it 120 volt or 220 volt? Is it burned out? It's very easy to think that we have a shared frame of reference when we don't. And this is what I liked about the Highland Park Flyer, because the ads were free, but they were also long. I knew what I was going to get at the other end. This is a bus in Copenhagen. 530 grams. I followed this bus to the end stage so I could take a picture of this. I said, I'm sitting in a car driving. I have no clue as to how heavy shoes are. I went home. I wear these big, clunky English shoes. I put it on a scale, 491 grams. That's what it weighs. So that's a heavy shoe. So what's in our shared reference toolkit? Well, we've got words, and we've got pictures, and we've got sounds. How many times have we seen this? That's 25 words. Old Hawaiian hula dancer girl motion lamp, all original and signed Dodge ink on the base. Shade is original, also but needs some repair or restoration. This was taken from eBay, but the rest of it, this is a good description. What looks like spotting on the base is magnified dust particles from rubbing my finger on her skirt to straighten it out. My camera really, this is somebody who's really interested in describing what he's got. That's a good ad. And we need to be helping people write better ads. Give them the space, give them the tools, give them an opportunity to add metadata and tagging and whatever so that they can get indexed properly. Longer text actually outperforms short text by about 40%. And there are studies on this. Now, of course, it also helps to have pictures. This happens to be the hula dance lady, which I bid on but didn't win. Oh, Olga Gorenko is online. Isn't that nice? This is also from eBay. This is a watch that retails at about $10,000, and the man can't figure out how to take a decent picture. There is no way on earth that anyone is going to send him thousands of dollars for a watch they can't see. And, we worry about download time, and, throughout most of Africa, there are very, very poor broadband connections. There are poor broadband connections in large portions of Central and Eastern Europe. People don't worry about the download time as long as they feel it's bringing them closer to their goal. I want a wedding dress that really makes a statement. I want to train. I want to just sweep into this church. And yes, click, buy it now. People will spend a lot of time on this, waiting for things to download if they think that it's bringing them closer to whatever they need so that you can establish that shared frame of reference. Adding more content is not the solution, my friends. It is adding better content. This is incredibly important. We can mix things up any way we want, but it's the context that really makes it interesting. We can take exactly the same content and we can make it more or less valuable depending on how we handle it. Content is king, but context is the kingdom. So let's put a little context on this. So we've got a URL, an album cover, and apparently this is a title. And if we click on this, it's going to sing the Bee Gees, but I will spare you. Words, da-da-da-da-da-da. So the context really helps us understand what's going on here. It differentiates your products, your company. It provides an important service. Instead of the blue newspaper in Denmark showing me silly ads for broadband connections, it could have said, look, here are authorized Fiat repair shops or whatever. There was a lot of context that is actually on that site, but just not showing up when you actually search for something as specific as a Fiat 500. Amazon certainly does it. People who bought that book also bought that book. This is Sears Roebuck. This is for a vacuum cleaner. What might you want to buy at the same time you buy a vacuum cleaner? Bags, exactly. There is nowhere on this page where you can even see what size bag it takes. It's not under the specifications, description. these are empty. There are vacuum bags, but it just says available, wait a minute, product description, fit select Kenmore canister vacuums. Eh? I don't know what to do about that. So your ability to handle context, I think, is going to be the key differentiator for you guys in the future. This is really a way that you can provide a useful service and make your site appealing and get people to come back. So in conclusion, please don't use innovation as a buzzword, but think about it in terms of solving these problems. Create stronger services because you've got to do it for the end users. I realize that your business cases are going to be built on freemium and other things, but if the users aren't happy, ultimately you will fail. You've got to build better shared references. Help people write better ads. When they write better ads, they will sell more product, and they will say, I'm going to go to your classified site because it works better than the other. I put things in the Chicago Tribune because I could sell a piano that same day. These pianos weren't in my house more than 7 days. 5 days, actually. And use context as a competitive weapon. This is really, your ability to handle that will set you apart from the crowd. Because, no, none of us are alone in our markets. And that's all I had to say. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was excellent, very insightful.